Hey, Tara. Hey, Leaf. Hey, Dawn. Hi, Ian. It's good to see you. Oh, hi, Rainey. Michael, hello. Hey, Rainey.
Hi, Linda.
It's good to see everyone. Hey, Dinesh.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Hey, Paul.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? I'm good. How about you?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Good, good. Hey, Margaret.
Hi, good evening. How are you, Linda?
Doing great. And hello, everyone in Kadampa. Not ignoring y'all. It was awesome. Had a great time. And hello, folks on YouTube as well. Hey, Lori, how are you? Hello, Ian on YouTube. Hi, Jonathan. So while we are waiting for Dawn to get here, I'll make a couple of announcements. So this is class, I shouldn't have even said that since I don't know. Class 4, 5? Thank you. 5 of 6. One more after today. And then I can't remember, we'll have either a 1 or 2 week break. I'll double check that before next week. And then we start with presenting the path. And on this coming up Sunday, the 19th, we do have a community engagement event. And so if you can, if you're here for the teachings and if you can stay afterwards, it's going to be an opportunity for volunteers like myself to say, hey, this is where my area could use help. And then we would love to hear back from everyone else as far as what you would like to see happening here at the center. So, you know, pre-COVID, there was lots and lots of programming, social events and family program and, all kinds of things. And then, of course, COVID happened. And so we're kind of rebuilding back up. And so we want to hear what it's important to all of you. So come to that if you can. I see Tara clapping, yay. So come to that, let us know what you're interested in, in having here at the center. And, we'll all try to make that happen. It is a volunteer-based center, so keep that in mind. But there will be some light refreshments served in kind of a fun, and I'm going to keep it a secret, a surprise kind of way. So you have to come to see what the surprise is, the big reveal. And that'll happen immediately after the teachings on Sunday. So join us if you can. And if you haven't visited the Kadampa Center calendar lately, be sure to check it out. We've got Buddhism in a Nutshell, the introductory course, which is actually full of information. And Dawn has just arrived. And so check that out. It's going to be 5 classes on Tuesday evenings from 7 to 8:30, in person only. So sorry, Zoom folks, but it's in person only. And there's Buddhist mind science happening, and exploring Buddhism is continuing. So, there's lots and lots happening. Geshe-la is teaching again on Wednesday nights as well. So check out the calendar for more if you want more. Good evening, Dawn.
So that's what we just seeds. That's our goal. And then things will happen. We all know our happiness and suffering comes from our mind. At least I hope we do. Why don't we do 3 prostrations to get our arrogance, pride, whatever, under control. And, the big obstacle to learning is arrogance. We all have that. Oh, well, forget about that. Put it in my pocket. Okay, so again, thank you for being here. And so we'll do 3 prostrations to the Buddha, and basically, as I said, this is really everything we do here has something to do with the mind, transforming the mind. And again, this is the biggest obstacle to our learning. One of them, anyway, is pride, arrogance. So this is a good practice to antidote to that, and then it's a way of purifying physical negative karma in particular. So we'll do the multiplying mantra if you know it. Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Susriye, Namo Tamasriye Soha. Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Susriye, Namo Tamasriye Soha. Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Susriye, Namo Tamasriye Soha. So please take a seat. So we'll start out with tonight we're going to do several different kinds of meditation. I hope get around to it. I don't run my mouth too much, but we'll do some visualization practices. And so the first one will be a visualization of Shakyamuni Buddha, and then we'll do the refuge in bodhicitta when we have that visualization established. So, so sit up straight and with your hands in your lap. Remember there's a 7-point posture that just sitting in I can't sit lotus anymore, but just sitting up with your spine straight, feet on the floor, flat on the floor, your your shoulders sort of down, a little bit back, maybe sort of opening up your chest a little bit. And then chin slightly tucked in. You don't want your head, flopping forward. That'll make you sleepy. Going too far back will make you agitated. Your mind will get all agitated. So just in a neutral position, chin slightly tucked in. And then the eyes, as I said, slightly open is best. Just allow a little bit of light to come in to keep the mind alert. If you find that that's just too distracting, then you do what works. Maybe in the beginning you start out closing your eyes, but it's a tendency to get sleepy that way. And then the tongue rests on the roof of the mouth, just behind the teeth, and that's to channel saliva, so that you're not, particularly if these things are relevant when you're sitting for long periods of time. But you want saliva to channel, just to go down your throat without having to, stop and swallow. That'll distract your mind. And then your arms are a little bit away from your sides, to allow for a little ventilation here if you're sitting, again, for any period of time. And then it's kind of interesting, in the Zen tradition, it's like this. The left hand on top of the right. And the Tibetan tradition, and I don't really think it matters, but you form a little triangle, your thumbs touch, and that your hands are sitting in your lap, and your thumbs are at the level of your navel. And again, so just check your posture. It's this posture, just sitting in this posture, it's been said has a calming effect on the mind. And let's scan the body from maybe starting at the feet and working your way up. And any tension that you notice or any discomfort that you experience, see if you can allow that to dissipate. Work up your calves to knees and thighs and so on, up through your upper torso and your scalp, facial muscles, arms, hands, like that. So just gently scan your body for any tension you might be holding on to, and relax. Sort of a balanced, alert presence. And then bring your awareness to your breath. And again, there's so many, you can count the breath. Let's just do that. We can all do it the same way. That don't make it so it's not too confusing. Just as you breathe in, just mentally note breathing in, and as you breathe out, you can mentally note breathing out, and you can, and then count to 10. So breathing in, breathing out, 1. Breathing in, breathing out, 2, and so on up to 10. And when you get to 10, you can start over. And if you didn't get to 10, you're more normal. Most people don't make it to 10. And it's not about counting, it's about being fully aware of the entire inhalation, even the sensation as the air comes maybe in the nostril, and then that experience of fully exhaling, and then you softly mentally note 1 like that. So it's not just a counting exercise, it's a full awareness of the process of breathing in and out. And then when your mind gets distracted, as it inevitably will, it's just the nature of the mind to want to run off. Well, sometimes it gets really drowsy and dull and torporous. Other times it's more excited, chasing after things that are desirable. But your contract with yourself is to keep your focus on your breath. And when that happens, you bring your mind back again and again and again, often as you need to. Like I said, most people have trouble getting past 3 breaths or 4 breaths, but just do your best and we'll do it again. Maybe this time just say in and out 1, in and out 2, like that. Now we'll shift it. We'll do another focusing technique. These are just ways, just in the beginning, before you do much of anything, you need to settle the mind. So remember the 9-round breathing we did, where you breathe in one side. You can close the nostril with your index finger if you want, but breathe in the left nostril, out the right. Do that 3 times. Then breathe in the right, out the left 3 times, and then breathe in both nostrils and out both nostrils 3 times. So let's do that practice as well. That's a good way to settle the mind when it's a little agitated or scattered. And we're going to do a visualization. Well, we'll just start out with a visualization of the Buddha, and basically the one sitting behind me on the altar. But a little bit different. I'll describe it to you. But in Tibetan Buddhism in particular, I think I think it is way different than any of the other traditions that I'm aware of anyway. Visualization is a big part of, for example, Tantra, most of the esoteric teachings that have to do with, and that are basically the rapid, and it sounds like a sales pitch, but the fastest path to enlightenment involves being able to powerfully and sincerely visualize ourselves as a fully enlightened being now. We're literally taking our future enlightenment and imagining that it's happening now, and then we, sort of imagine what our life would be like as that kind of fully enlightened being. And of course, there's a lot more to it than that. But we're going to start out by visualizing Shakyamuni Buddha in front of you. And everybody has an image of what their car looks like. So some people say, well, I can't visualize, or you just do the best you can. It's really okay. I think the most important part of visualizing a Buddhist deity, or what they call a meditational deity, and in this case, Shakyamuni Buddha, is to feel a sense of an enlightened presence. That it's not just, we're not visualizing a thangka or a painting or a statue. We're we're literally imagining like a hologram, an image of the Buddha, and to actually feel, this is the hard part, but actually feel as if there's an enlightened presence there in front of you. Like it's not just like that is the real Buddha, the embodiment of all the the perfections of all the qualities we have. We call it Buddha nature, but there it is manifesting as we speak. So at the level of the forehead and about a body's length in front of you, and this visualization is like completely made of light. You visualize this big throne, and it's held up by 8 great snow lions, which, don't have to worry about that. Just visualize the throne, again, completely made of light. You can make it as big as you can possibly make it, the visualization. The bigger, the better. And on top of that, and every part of this visualization has meaning, has dharma meaning, sort of manifestations of the aspects of the path. So on this throne is a lotus, a sun, and a moon disk. So the lotus, and on top of that the sun, on top of that the moon disk. So we got throne, lotus, sun, and moon disk. The lotus symbolizes bodhicitta, this mind of enlightenment, altruistic intention to become enlightened for others. And the sun symbolizes the wisdom of emptiness, the ability, is sort of what we've been talking about, this ability to see things as they are, with complete accuracy. See things as they are, wisdom of emptiness. And then actually I got it wrong. The lotus symbolizes renunciation, which is what we've been talking about, is having compassion for yourself, this determination to be free. The sun symbolizes emptiness, and then on top of that is the moon disk, and that symbolizes bodhicitta, or the awakening mind. So again, lotus, renunciation; sun, emptiness; moon disk is bodhicitta. All made of light, and on top of that is seated the Shakyamuni Buddha, enlightened Buddha. His body is made of radiant golden light, not one atom of inherent existence. Again, completely made, it's completely like a hologram. The image is completely made of light, no solidity. And he's wearing the saffron robes of a monk. And it's said as the robes are, they're not even touching his body. They're like about an inch off his body. And his right hand is in what's called the earth-touching mudra. So sort of, I've heard different explanations, but it's sort of like symbolizing that, that he has achieved enlightenment, and he's sort of making a point. And his left hand, he's holding a begging bowl that's filled with this nectar, amrita, nectar that solves all the problems of sentient beings. And he has this beautiful gaze. It's a little bit of a smile. His eyes are kind of long and slightly open. Again, beautiful smile. Has long earlobes. His hair is sort of blue-black. And there's a top knot on the top of his head. And each hair is individually curled to the right or the left. I can't remember. I think it's to the right. Again, every aspect of the visualization has symbolic meaning. And so as much as you can. I mean, for some of us, just being able to see a light bulb is about all you can get. But it's okay. The most important part of the visualization is to feel the living presence of an enlightened being. Shakyamuni Buddha in the space in front of us. And you can also imagine that we're surrounded by universal living beings, all in human form. And that radiant light emanates from every pore in his body. And it goes out to all these universal living beings, and on the tip of every ray of light is a little small Buddha. And, these little small Buddhas actually come to the crown of the heads of all the beings around and melt into light, melt through the top of their head, melt into their hearts. You just imagine that light coming from the Buddha's heart, and he's looking at you with a compassionate gaze, fully accepting you just as you are, as he is all living beings. And he's the embodiment of the perfection of all the qualities of our mind, perfect wisdom, compassion, kindness, skillful means, energy, power. So again, whether you see, even if you see absolutely nothing, as much as possible, feel like there's a living presence in front of you. It basically is the perfection of all the qualities that you personally possess, but you're visualizing it in front of you in the form of Shakyamuni Buddha. And now we're going to do if you can, keep this visualization in your mind's eye as we do the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. That's great. But just, you can hold that in your mind's eye, and we'll do the opening prayers. Sometimes you can, as you do the prayers, you can imagine like light and nectar coming from the Buddha's heart, particularly coming from his heart, entering like the crown of your head, and as completely purifying all your negative karma, blessing you with all kinds of positive energy. As we we'll do the refuge bodhicitta in the four measurables. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Okay. It said, there's one class that we do in discovering in the 15, I guess there's 15 different classes that make up Discovering Buddhism. There's one on Tantra, and it said that the only, usually in the visualization practices, you can, when you're visualizing meditational deities, and there's a lot of them in this room. If you look around, there's Shakyamuni Buddha over there, and a Tonka back here, and then these are 35, 35 Buddhas for purification practices. And then over there you see a 1,000-armed Chinrezig, symbolizes compassion. So if we wanted to meditate, develop compassion, we might use that one. If we want to develop like this sort of compassionate energy, to accomplish things, we might use Tara, this female aspect of the Buddha over here as well. Same. This is green Tara. These are the different. It's like I think 25. I'm not sure, but anyway, there are many aspects of Tara over here. So visualization over here, the white one is one that we might do tonight. I've decided, but it's Vajrasattva. It has to do with purification of different negative karma, basically. Because we're always creating it. So it's nice to have a really convenient practice for purification. But the visualization is a big part of Vajrayana Buddhism. Not so much in the when you're just studying the scriptures and the regular Buddha Dharma that we teach here at Kadampa Center. We rarely have teachers qualified, but to do the practices where you do visualization, you need to have an empowerment or an initiation into the practice. The only one that you're supposed to be able to do without an initiation is the one of visualizing yourself as Shakyamuni Buddha. So since we're about halfway there anyway, let's go ahead and take a moment and we'll visualize ourselves. We'll go back to our visualization of settle back into your meditation posture. And sort of instantly imagine in front of you the Buddha. Again, 8 snow lions, throne, all made of light, with the lotus, the sun and the moon disk, renunciation, emptiness, and bodhicitta. There's Shakyamuni Buddha, the embodiment of the perfections of all the perfections that make up an enlightened being, that we have the potential to achieve. We have Buddha nature. This is a manifestation of our Buddha nature. It's what we're imagining in front of us, but we're imagining a living presence. And there's a mantra that goes along with him. If I had the board here, I would write it down, but it's, some of you may know it. I'm just going to do it 7 times. And, but oftentimes what you can imagine is, as you say the mantra, at the Buddha's heart, there's a disc, and around that disc is, in the middle of it is the syllable hum, H-U-M, and around the edges of the disc are the letters, actually the words of the mantra. Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Mune Soha. Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Mune Soha. And as you say that mantra, if you were doing this practice with the front generation, as we're doing right now, you would imagine that light and nectar would leave the Buddha's body from the syllables, and would again go throughout, leaving his body through all the pores and sort of blessing the environment. So we want we want to receive the blessings of the Buddha, and we want all other beings to receive it as well. So imagine as I say this mantra 7 times, or I better get my mala out so I don't lose count. You can imagine that light and nectar are leaving his these syllables and leaving his body through all the pores and blessing, universal living beings. Taya ta om mane mane maha mane soa. Taya ta om mane mane maha mane soa. Taya ta om mane mane maha mane soa. Daya da 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 om mane mane maha mane soa. Imagine that you and all of the beings have been blessed by this energy, light and energy from the Buddha's heart. These blessings, this blessed energy, gives us the ability to achieve the realizations of the Buddha, of the complete path of enlightenment. And now imagine, it doesn't matter how big your visualization was, imagine it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller until it's about the size of your thumb, again, about 8 feet in front. And as much as you can, remembering that, again, we've got snow lions, a throne, lotus sun, moon disk, Shakyamuni Buddha, with all his features, the embodiment of enlightenment, a living presence. Imagine that in the space in front. And then he comes slowly from in front. He comes toward us and rests upon the crown of our head, facing in the same direction. And then sinks down through the top of our head, through the central channel, and down to our heart, center of our chest. And then everything in the universe sort of melts into light and absorbs into us. And then we melt into the light and absorb into the Buddha, who then gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it's just, and then he completely melts into light. There's nothing but empty space. Not one atom of solidity, not one atom of inherently existent anything. And then motivated by this compassionate wisdom that we call bodhicitta, motivated by that, we imagine that we arise from this space of emptiness. Suddenly, you arise as the Buddha. Imagine your body's completely made of light. You're sitting on the throne, a lotus, the sun and the moon disk. You have the begging bowl in your right hand, the earth touching mudra. The earth has his witness that he achieved enlightenment, that you achieved enlightenment. You have the saffron, your body's made of, again, completely made of light. Wearing the saffron robes of a monk, with a slight smile. Eyes are slightly open. And think, I am a Buddha. I have fully developed wisdom, compassion, loving kindness, skillful means, power. All the qualities. Now. I have those now. I had the potential, but they're fully developed now. And we identify with those qualities now. Lamia, she calls it divine pride, but it's not ordinary afflictive pride. It's like identifying with our Buddha nature in a fully developed form now. And then we imagine at our heart is this, again, we're completely made of light. At our heart is a disc, and in the center of it is the syllable hum. You don't have to H-U-M. You know, if you can visualize it, great. And you don't have to you don't need to know what the words of the mantra look like, but it's Taya Ta Om Mani Mani Mahamani Soha. You don't have to visualize this clearly. Just imagine that at your heart. Again, we'll do the mantra 7 more times. And as you do it, imagine that light and nectar leave your body through all the pores in your body as the Buddha and go out and throughout the universe. And on each beam of light goes to a different sentient being. And on the top of each beam is a replica, but again, the enlightened presence of the Buddha that basically lands on the top of, is at the top of that being's head and melts into light, and then that being achieves enlightenment themselves. It's a lot to think about, but that's general visualization. But just as much as possible, think that on each beam of light, you're sending out all of this amazing enlightening energy to universal living beings in human form, and they're all benefiting from it. They all ultimately are able to achieve full enlightenment themselves because of you. So, go back. This is sort of the analytical part of the practice where you analyze again your body sitting on lotus, on throne, lotus, sun and moon disk, saffron robes, slight smile, blue-black hair, lotus, hum at your heart with the mantra around this disc, and the light going out to all sentient beings, benefiting them. Dayata Om Mane Mane Maha Mane Soha. 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 Now you can imagine that that all these living beings that surround you, they all absorb into your body as the Buddha, into your heart, and then you become like smaller and smaller, and to you again, all of your, you dissolve basically into this tiny atom. At the center of your heart is the Buddha, and that completely disappears into space. The space of emptiness. So again, this is one of those meditations where what appears to the mind is spaciousness, but what's being realized is the wisdom of emptiness, the emptiness of inherent existence. And then from that, you rise in your ordinary form, having been blessed by this experience of meditating on yourself as the Buddha. So you can bring your awareness back in the room. So again, this is the Tantra. In Buddhism, we talk about Tantra being the resultant path. That's why it's considered to be faster. Because ordinarily, when we're meditating, we feel, oh my God, I'm such a mess. I'm just slugging it out with my thoughts, feelings, my body screaming. Just we're ordinary beings with ordinary thoughts, and everything is ordinary, not extraordinary. And and so it's that's one way to meditate, and that's the Sutra Yana version of practice. The Vajrayana version of practice is the opposite of that, though, in the sense that everything is extraordinary. So we take the future result, which is our enlightenment. That's where we're going. That's our aspiration, is to achieve full enlightenment as a Buddha. And we imagine that we are that now, not your ego. Because remember, we started out by dissolving the sense of self or ego into voidness, right? And then we arise, again, this compassionate wisdom consciousness arises as the Buddha. And then we identify as the Buddha. Now, we identify we will all become enlightened sooner or later. This is the claim in the Buddha Dharma. We will become Buddhas. And this is a practice to help speed it up. Because now, ordinarily we think, well, I'm such a mess. I got all these problems. You know, even when we meditate, you know, we feel like we don't have a sense of being, you know, that anything amazing could happen. But now we're imagining that we're a Buddha now. We have the qualities, all the qualities, fully developed qualities of a Buddha. And then we're sharing, what does a Buddha do? A Buddha is like a light to the world. Not everybody benefits from the Buddha's energy, but those that are open to it do. And so that we imagine that we are literally sending out light to the entire universe, to all those who have the karmic propensity or karmically receptive to this energy that the Buddha puts out, and that they're blessed by it, and they achieve the state of full enlightenment in themselves. That's what a Buddha does, is teaches and shares that energy with the universe. So we imagine that we're that now. And so, again, that's one of the features of these visualization practices that Tibetan Buddhism really, I think, specializes in, is that we take the future result, which is our enlightenment, and imagine that we are that now, but not ordinary I, but this extraordinary I. We imagine I am a Buddha now, and with all these perfect qualities, and then we sort of as like a dress rehearsal. Well, what would a Buddha do? If I was enlightened, what would I do? Oh, I'd send out energy. I would help beings. You know, somebody who's sick, I'd help them get better. Somebody who's depressed, somebody who's dying, somebody, wherever sentient beings are, I would be reaching out as much as possible, trying to help. So we imagine that we're that now and trying to help. And that's one type of visualization practice. Again, if we wanted to develop compassion, we might use Thousand Armed Shinrezig instead of the Buddha. But to do the practices of the various Buddha figures, or what they call meditational deities, here we would need to have an empowerment or a blessing from a qualified teacher. But for example, Chinrezig is compassion, and as I said, Green Tara is compassionate energy. Manjushri, I don't know if he's here or not. Yeah, I think over there's a golden Buddha figure on Tonka, maybe the next to the last one. He holds a sword which cuts through. He's said to be the manifestation of wisdom. And then there's another one called Vajrapani, which has to do with power. And then behind me is Kala Chakra, which is this is highest yoga tantra. This is sort of the most esoteric practices in all of Buddhism, and it's basically a manifestation of every implement, every aspect of Kala Chakra's body, and the things that Kala Chakra holds have symbolic meaning in the path. It's all like a big teaching. That, I hate to call it a chunk of metal, but that's what it is. But it has huge symbolic meaning. It's very sacred because it all is teaching different aspects of the path. So, any questions about visualization? Yeah.
So at one point in the visualization, when we were sending out like the light energy that had the little Buddhas on, traveling with the light energy, we were sending that out to human beings, but is it not just humans? It's all sentient beings, is that correct?
Well, I said all sentient beings in human form because normally it's, a lot of the teachers will say that. It's just easier to visualize all beings in human form. So, we're talking about countless living beings, and we're surrounded by countless living beings in human form. But it's just a method. We're trying to train our mind, right? So that's a little bit easier to visualize in alligators and crocodiles and zebras and lions and elephants and, whatever. That's a little bit too much. Yeah, so usually we do that. And, we all do it all day long, don't we? We're very good at visualizing, but not like this. This is, different flavor, different game. Any questions?
Any other questions in here? And if you're online,
Any
if you're on
questions about
Zoom,
anything
just
really that,
wave.
it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
about,
Jeevan.
preferably about Buddhism.
Okay, this question is kind of out there, but I've been curious about this for a while. When you do the visualization meditation, at least for me, my ability to visualize is not as good compared to when I visualize something with my eye, my physical eye. So, what do the teachers say, or has anybody thought about doing one of these visualizations in a virtual reality format, where you're actually using your eye and there's a program that you are watching to do what you just described? Would that be off base?
No, actually, things like that have been done, but that's yeah. For example, mandalas. Have you ever heard of a mandala? Which is basically a celestial mansion. Well, each one of these Buddha figures has their own mandala, and every aspect of the mandala is a teaching. It's like a memory house. Each thing means this teaching. This means this teaching. This, and it's all made of light, and it's all, and yeah. So it's been done in years past. I'm sure I haven't been online and looked, but for us doing the practices ourselves is more powerful. I think the key for the visualization practices is to have a little bit of understanding of compassion and emptiness. Okay, because if we're going to visualize, if you're visualizing the Buddha figure in front of you, it's still important to feel like there's a living presence. For so many years, I used to think, it was like a statue. And then somebody said, no, you got to think of it as a living presence. It's basically, I think of it this way, like I know I have a little bit of compassion, a little bit of all of these qualities, and imagine that literally it's projected in front of me, but in its full form as a Buddha. And I'm relating to that. And then, and so that's supposed to help speed up our spiritual evolution in that direction when we create that visualization in front of us, but feeling like looks like a hologram, nothing made it, not one atom of solidity, but definitely like you can imagine breathing, smiling at you, could even talk to you. A living presence of a fully enlightened being in front of us. And we focus on that. I think that's more important than getting the colors of the hair or the robes or whatever, or the lotus, the sun, and the moon disk. But that whole notion of a living presence is so important. Yeah. So that's, and then And again, the other part of the visualization that's crucial before you actually visualize yourself as the Buddha is that you literally have to dissolve yourself into emptiness, okay? Because you're going to rise as the Buddha. So usually what will happen is you imagine the entire universe dissolving into light, right? I can't think of any movies right now where that happened, but anyway, where everything dissolves into light and it absorbs into your body, and then your body becomes smaller, smaller, smaller to your heart, and then there's one little atom in it that disappears into space, and now all there is a spaciousness, complete spaciousness, and what you're aware of is the wisdom of emptiness, that there's nothing inherently existent that exists independent of my mind labeling it. And we're aware of compassion. And so this compassionate, so based on our wish to help others, who can help others the best? Remember our old buddy Chitta motivation? You get down at that point, you say, I must become a Buddha in order to liberate all sentient beings. And you think, but I can't do it. I don't have the qualities. Well, a Buddha does. So we imagine, boom, bingo, we are a Buddha now with all of these qualities fully developed. Perfect wisdom, perfect compassion, perfect loving kindness. We imagine that we have those qualities now. We identify with these, and as in the tantric teachings, they call it. It's sort of a pride, but sort of acknowledging what's there. It's called divine pride. Like, I have these qualities, and feel it. Because you do. We do have some of them, but in this practice, we imagine we have it fully developed. Yeah, so this compassionate wisdom consciousness arises, comes from the space of emptiness and arises as a fully enlightened being, the Buddha. And then we imagine that we're that now. That's the basic premise of every tantric visualization. It always starts out with meditation on emptiness, to let go of your ordinary sense of I and your ego identity, because that's not going anywhere, is it? That's not going to get us enlightened. It's got us nowhere. We got to let go of our biggest enemy, which is our self-cherishing selfishness, that one. So we let all of that dissolves into emptiness, and then our compassionate wisdom consciousness arises as a fully enlightened being now, and we identify with that. I am a Buddha now. Kind of radical. It's sort of radical, but it's a powerful method, and it's one of the reasons why Tantra is, again, supposed to be, which involves visualization, is considered to be where it might take, I think they say, I don't know, 3 countless eons to get enlightened using sutra, the Sutra Jnana path, which are basically the Lam teachings that we teach around here. You got 3 countless eons to go. Good luck with that one. But the tantric path, supposedly, if you can practice it well, and with good motivation, it has to be with a compassionate motivation, or you turn into Darth Vader. You want that. Then said you can get enlightened in as quickly as 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days. Sounds like a good ad, doesn't it? I'll take, sign me up with that one. So anyway, visualization is important in this tradition of Buddhism.
Don, we do have a question from a student on Zoom.
Sure.
They ask, are we training to keep with the dialogue and follow it, or is it okay to let our imagination take over?
Actually, I'm not exactly sure which direction the imagination is going in, but this is an ultimate opportunity to use your imagination in this particular practice. When you imagine yourself as a Buddha, and you imagine, it's sort of like a dress rehearsal, really, mentally, but you're imagining that you're a Buddha now, and then, well, what would I do? I would help people that are sick. I would help people that are depressed. I would help people that were dying. I would help, wherever there are wars, wherever there's suffering, I would reach out and try to help. That's what a Buddha, an enlightened being, would do, right? If you were that now, so you imagine situations, and oftentimes, usually, well, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the visualization practice is you can use your imagination as much as possible, and there are different levels of tantra. Okay, so there are 4 actually, and the one we're talking about is the lowest level, literally called action tantra, and then of course Kala Chakra. That particular aspect of enlightened mind is of the highest. It's called highest yoga tantra, and that's pretty advanced, pretty hard to practice and do it correctly. So, but visualization. Robbie asked me the other day, "Have you taught visualization yet?" I said, "No, I better do it quick. Class is almost over." How many more weeks do we have? Is it 1 more week? Oh my God, it's not enough time. All right, well, any more questions? It's a lot. Throwing this visualization thing at you, but it's really, really cool. And I think there's one little purification practice that you can. I think we'll do it next week. We'll do a couple of things next week. That 2 of my favorite practices. One is Vajrasattva purification practice, which is this image over here. That's Vajrasattva. It's a male and female, but it actually really symbolizes one being or one consciousness in a sense. Vajrasattva, which is a deity that's particularly powerful in purifying our negative karma, right? So we need that, because all day long we're creating karma, and most of it's coming from where? From ego, isn't it? Most of it's coming from self-cherishing. There's very few moments during the day where we actually aren't motivated by selfishness, and so we're constantly creating the causes for future problems. It's very important to have a powerful practice to neutralize that negative karma as quickly as possible. Because remember one of those laws of karma, it expands, it grows exponentially. So it's just like a little seed of an oak tree. You come back in 20 years, you got a huge tree. Same thing, karma does that way. So you catch it early and purify it. So that's good to do that. So we'll talk about that, and we'll also do a meditation on. We'll do the analytical meditation on. Well, I won't tell you what it is because you probably won't show up. No, I'm kidding. I think it's powerful. On death and impermanence, I personally find that this is one of the most inspiring meditations that I do is on death and impermanence, because a lot of us are afraid to even think about it, right? We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to think about it, but it's so much part of life. And so, since it's something that we're all going to have to face, why can't we have a real conversation about it or a meditation on it? There are 9 points, but the main points are: death is definite, right? Nothing surprising. Everybody dies. And then the time of death. A lot of people woke up this morning thinking hey, another day, everything's gonna be fine. As I was coming over here tonight, there was a crash right at the intersection of Tryon Road and Cary Parkway. I just looked in there because I made sure the airbags were off. Everybody seemed to be out, but I mean, there were a lot of people that died today that woke up this morning, and that was not on their to-do list. We could die any moment. On the way home, the next breath. It only takes a little virus or a little blood clot or our life is so, our body's so fragile. We could die at any minute. And at the time of your death, what can help you? Your 401k ain't going to help you. Your family sure ain't going to help you. You know, the Buddha's not going to help you. I'm not going to help you. Well, I would if I could, but no. The only thing when we are at the moment or those final moments of our death, the only thing of any benefit are going to be the seeds that we planted on our mental continuum. And if we lived our life totally driven by self-cherishing totally driven by ego and selfishness, and we have a lot of regrets, that's what's going to come flooding into our mind, and we'll not die peacefully. What we, I think I told you, Lama Zopa gave me I used to get Christmas cards from him all the time. You don't get this in a Christmas card. I hope you have a happy death. But what a profound request. If you knew you were going to die with a happy mind, just imagine how you would have lived. You would have lived an amazing life. So we'll do a meditation on that. So death is definite. The time of death is indefinite. The only thing of any benefit at the moment of death, the only currency that you can spend on your deathbed is the good karma that you've created during the course of your lifetime. And here's one more thing to think about this week. I heard this on an Audible book, and I thought it was so great. And it's like we came into this life with a bag of money. Everybody can relate to money, right? We could say coins. Let's say coins. This huge bag of coins, but we don't know how big it is. But we came into this life, and all day long, every time we take a breath, every time we blink our eyes, every time we say something, every moment of every day, we're taking coins out of that bag and giving them away. They're going somewhere. But our bag is continually being emptied of this money called my life. And we don't know how much is in that bag. But we're constantly spending the precious moments of our life just like it was money. But for some of you, I mean, you think, well, he's older than I am, so he won't live as long. But you don't know that. Your bag might be empty. You might be 25 years old, but you only got a handful of coins left. You don't know. We don't know. So it's kind of cool. Just imagine this week that every moment you're spending this currency called my life, and it's being depleted moment by moment. And the point of that is for us to live meaningfully, as much as possible, aware and alert and fully present in every moment. The Dalai Lama says, a great meditator is someone who's focused. This is one of those memorable moments. A great meditator is somebody who's focused on the next moment of consciousness, because the past is already gone, right? Focused on the next moment of consciousness with compassion and awareness and wisdom. Kind of a great way to live your life. So with that, let's do the dedication verses of Shanti Deva.
It's page 32 to 33 in the Gold Prayer Book.
Yeah. So again, there, if we don't, we always try to start out everything we do here at Kadampa Center with a motivation as much as possible, an altruistic motivation, a motivation where, we'd like to become better people so we can at least help the people that we live with and maybe even achieve full enlightenment, but at least make more progress along the spiritual path. So we try to set our motivation for something positive like that, other-oriented motivation. And at the end, we always dedicate the merits because there's something, positive seeds have been planted, and we want these seeds to not just ripen as a pretty flower, but actually to ripen as for the benefit of others. So to ripen as us becoming fully enlightened beings for the sake of others. So we're dedicating, these verses are about dedicating the energy from tonight's practices to that aim. May all beings everywhere, plagued by the sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and may those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain, dispel the miseries of the world. Amen. All right, so I think, how many people have actually bought this book and read it? Yeah. I think it's, I've listened to it or not. I think I told you last time, I bought this book like 30 years ago when it was first written. It's about half this size, but it's been edited by Venerable Robina, who we all know well and love. So she's beefed up Kathleen's book quite a bit, but there's a lot of really great practices in this book. If you haven't purchased it, I recommend it. And I would say let's just stick with the mindfulness of the breath. I think it's a good. There was one great teacher from another tradition. His name was Chogyam Trungpa. He's a little bit controversial, but he was also really a wonderful teacher. And he would have his students like spend at least 2 years or 2 years just watching the breath, just focusing on the breath before he would give them any more advanced teachings. So again, this is a good practice. It brings a lot of having a focused mind, has a healing effect on our heart. Our mind being scattered, like I read the other day, like at least 80 to 90% of our thoughts are not positive. We're putting ourselves down, it's critical, blah, blah, blah. Our mind is scattered. So it's really good to be able to bring the mind into focus and be present. That's a good practice, and meditation is not something I learned growing up, but it's a good practice for all of us. So have a good week, and be sure and start your practice off with motivation and complete it with a dedication during the week. And if I think of anything, I'll pass it on to Linda and we'll post it. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah.
So just as a reminder, next week is our last class for how to meditate. Then we do have a 1-week break, and then we'll start presenting the path, and that'll start the first Monday of April. Okay. Haymet is teaching that. Yeah. Yes, but not yet, since we're only on, yeah, we're only on module 2. Bye, everybody on Zoom and YouTube. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you and good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Sure, let me close.
Good night. Thank you.